Shadow football. Congratulations to Chelsea. Sonia Bonpastor has won her first trophy as the Chelsea manager, and her players performed duly to win the League Cup as well. Millie Bright lifted the trophy standing on the worst playing surface I've ever seen for a top-level final. Maika Hamano made herself a new dress with the confetti, and Sonia Bonpastor clapped, knowing there are 3 more trophies for her team to win this season. The 90 minutes before all this is what's most important though, so let's take a closer look. How did Chelsea win? Generic question, I know. How did City only score once despite having most of the momentum? And yeah, I can't think of a third question to round out the introduction, so yeah, let's go! I'm recording this bit after the first leg of the Champions League, and whilst I would have loved to make videos analysing the European tie, UEFA isn't very kind with their copyright as I found out previously, so I decided to make a video on the League Cup final pretty early on. With City's victory in the first leg, I know that this video might be slightly outdated by about 36 to 48 hours, but I still think this game is worth looking at closely. Both teams lined up exactly how you would expect them to line up. Nick Cushing didn't have a lot of time with the team, so it was presumed he would keep things the way they are for the time being, which was to keep the 4-3-3 system with the same personnel. I made a video analysing Sonia Bonpastor's Chelsea a while back, so if you want an in-depth analysis of Chelsea, please go check it out. But really quickly, Chelsea like to build up out wide, utilising the fullbacks and wingers to carry the ball forwards, and then finding a pass inside to the centre of the pitch, and then fashioning a chance to score. I also mentioned that individual ability is usually the way Chelsea create these chances, players generally staying in their positions and not roaming around switching positions with each other. In the first half of the season, that was true. Things have changed slightly now, and that is because Lauren James is now back, fully fit having missed a large part of the first couple of months. James is a player that needs the license to roam. She needs to be given the freedom to pop up wherever she wants to conjure up some magic. Hannah Hampton plays a lovely ball out wide to Baltimore. She does well under the pressure of Fujino and gets the ball over to Macario. She outmuscles Hasegawa and rolls onto her outside and drives up the pitch, carrying the ball up for her team. She's the number 10 in this team, but she's now operating as the left winger. So Lauren James makes a move inside to play as the number 10 for this attacking phase, switching positions with Macario.
I believe they call that the old switcheroo.
Because Macario is now the left winger and Hasegawa was beaten, Kasparai now has to watch both Macario and LJ, which leaves her rooted to the spot, unable to commit to either option. And this gives Macario the time and space to play the inevitable inside pass to the better footballer out of the James siblings. James plays a lovely through ball to Ramirez and whatever works as long as the ball goes in, hey? If we take a look at the replay from this angle, Alexandri is marking Ramirez very tightly. She's doing a good job here. Ramirez then shapes to run in this direction, in front of Alexandri, but at the last minute, changes her line to run in behind. This is elite level movement off the ball, and Laia Alexandri loses her footing partly due to Ramirez's change in direction, but also because she was playing a cup final on the waste disposal side of Derbyshire, and thus loses sight of the Colombian. Gracie Pryor, who had a pretty solid game overall, should have gone to close down LJ before Macario passed the ball since this was her only real passing option. LJ has no pressure on her, giving her all the time and space in the world to pick the perfect timing for the assist. Alexandri now has no idea where Ramirez is, and Yamashita does well to save the initial effort, but Ramirez and Chelsea won't mind how this goal went in. This was a wonderfully crafted goal from Chelsea, and huge credit has to be given to Katarina Macario for taking Hasegawa and Kasparai out of the game with her strength and ability to carry the ball forwards, and Chelsea take a 1-0 lead very early in the game. What followed was an avalanche of Manchester City attack for the rest of the game, and Chelsea had their backs against the wall, trying to fight the Man City Flames as best as possible. Or was it? Now, this is the perfect game to illustrate that possession does not mean dominance. Yes, City had most of the ball. Yes, City were on the attack for the majority of the game. But Chelsea were always the team in control. It didn't feel like City were close to scoring a goal. It felt like City were trying their best to break down the 4 Bs of Chelsea's defence: Bronze, Bjorn, Bright, and the city where the first post office was inaugurated in the United States. Chelsea's defense is all about organization and control. They keep their defensive line low and narrow, forcing teams to play in wide areas, almost wanting them to cross the ball in because their defense can deal with every single ball that comes into the area. This is a team that backs their defense. They know they can dominate defensively and happily invite teams to try and break them down. This type of defense actually plays into City's hands, since they do like to cross the ball in because they have one of the best strikers in the league to aim for. Fujino and Fowler sending in a myriad of crosses, but all of them were of pretty poor quality, but not as poor of a quality as the pitch conditions for a cup final. And that's a huge shame because City actually played quite well. They suffocated Chelsea's build-up well, repeatedly putting pressure on their fullbacks, particularly on one of the major port cities of the United States in the 19th century. City repeatedly targeted Baltimore to pressure up high and won the ball off her a couple of times. Miedema and Kasperay do well here to take the ball off the birthplace of the six-pack of beer actually. Who knew? And they play some gorgeous one-touch football which takes the Chelsea midfield out of the game. Nusken and Cuthbert couldn't get anywhere near them for this phase, but the Chelsea backline still stayed connected and hard to break down. Bunny Shaw gets the ball, and Natalie Bjorn does well to block the attempt, always in control defensively. City also overloaded the wide areas to pull the Chelsea midfield out of position. Wahabi, Roord and Fowler are all on the left-hand side. Roord here drags Cuthbert really far away from where she wants to be, and Fowler takes advantage of that space left behind by Cuthbert and receives a good ball from Wahabi. She skips away from Nusken easily, and the Chelsea midfield have just been taken out of this phase through City overloading the left. It looks like City are dominating, having just gone through the Chelsea midfield, but the unmovable back four of Chelsea still stay intact. Nusken works hard to get across as Fowler finds Miedema. She ships the ball onto Fujino for her to play a pretty disappointing cross straight into Hampton's hands. That passage of play summed up the whole game. City doing really well to get into the final third, but that last pass was just poor. Chelsea were always well set up in their own box and allowed nothing to get past them. City's midfield 3 against Chelsea's midfield 2 presents a numerical advantage for them, but Cuthbert and Nusken are both incredibly hard workers defensively and minimize that numerical advantage the best they could. Nusken works hard here to close down Miedema, who's dropped so far back that Nusken is dragged so far out of position. This forces Cuthbert to abandon her post of marking Jill Roord in order to cover the entire area of Ben Nevis on her own. Nusken dives in and takes herself out of the move, with Miedema successfully getting the ball to Fujino. Baltimore doesn't get tight enough, so Fujino has ample time and space to turn and plays a neat little 1-2 with Bunny Shaw. Cuthbert here can't go impress Fujino because Jill Roord is completely free, so she instead chooses to cut off the passing lane to Roord. Fujino spots that Cuthbert's hips are pointed this way, so she drives up the pitch, which means Cuthbert needs to turn around 180 degrees to close her down. At some point, someone needs to close down Fujino. Cuthbert and Nusken are both behind the Japanese winger. LJ is tracking Kasperay's run, Bright is following Shaw's run, and Baltimore isn't really doing Chelsea much good here. Bright turns around here, doubling down on Shaw's line, and this should have been the cue for the filming location for House of Cards to shoot out of line and close down Fujino. Baltimore stumbles, not because she was indecisive, but due to the fact that this game was played in the Sahara Desert, and Fujino takes a shot which rifles past Hannah Hampton, equalizing for Manchester City. It was a great strike, where City drags Sjoeke Nusken out of position so Fujino could tear through the Chelsea midfield, but it still didn't feel like City were coming back into the game and wrestling the tug-of-war battle to their side. It felt rather fortunate that Hannah Hampton's line of sight was completely blocked by Millie Bright, and I do apologise for saying that because Aoba Fujino did oh so well to score that goal. Definitely City's best player on the day, and she genuinely carried her team forward. But Chelsea didn't seem too shaken up by it, and continued to back their tactics. Bonpastor's substitutions felt like fresh legs entering the pitch to continue what they were doing, rather than a knee-jerk reaction to going behind. Hamano and Beaver Jones are both quick, tenacious and full of energy, which is exactly what Chelsea needed at this stage of the game. Chelsea were genuinely doing their best to give City an equaliser because they kept giving the ball away in dangerous areas to them. I'm convinced they just wanted to make this game more interesting because they had so much confidence they were going to win anyways. Speaking of confidence, on one flank, Baltimore was the easier target for City to close down. But on the other flank, Lucy Bronze is a different beast. She gets the ball from Bjorn and takes a smart touch to go around Fowler, and controls a Layla Wahhabi rocket before poking the ball to Beaver Jones. She is now completely free, and Alexandre now has to choose either to close Beaver Jones down or to follow Ramirez, who's heading in this direction. This decision would have been an easier one to make if Hasegawa just went straight to Beaver Jones, which would allow Alexandre to back up and track Ramirez. Hasegawa doesn't do that, and Alexandre is caught in no woman's land as the ball goes to Ramirez. She has so much time to pick her head up and cross the ball in. Hasegawa is tracking Beaver Jones, but stops halfway to position herself as the holding midfielder. However, she is now filling in for Alexandre at centre half, so she should be here. That would then allow Gracie Pryor to go to Hamano and clear the ball while she's facing the right way. The cross comes in, and Hasegawa unfortunately turns the ball into her own net. Chelsea did well here to fashion this crossing opportunity, and whilst this is a slightly cruel way for a cup final to be decided, it's not as cruel as making the players play a cup final on a pitch that's worse than the one I play on for my Sunday League games. From here on, Chelsea shut up shop and City didn't get another sniff at their goal. Chelsea won this game through sheer grit, organisation, confidence, and a willingness to work hard for each other. They were always in control of the game and put a massive shift in keeping the likes of Firmino, Shaw, and Fowler at bay. Chelsea actually created a couple of really good chances, like this one that Ramirez didn't take advantage of, and also chances for LJ and Johannerud and Kanerud that also weren't converted. The scoreline could have been even more drastic if they put those opportunities away. Anyhow, Aaron Cuthbert and Sjoeke Nusken both emptied their tanks covering for each other and ran their hearts out for the team. Millie Bright had a fantastic game and duly deserved her Player of the Match award. Catarina Macario was immense and got Chelsea forward with a couple of neat touches and passes, and Ramirez was strong and direct as always. But the player I want to highlight for this game is Natalie Bjorn. I genuinely don't think she made a defensive mistake this game. She was always well positioned in the box, clearing everything away. She handled the threat of Bunny Shaw really well, blocking shots and ushering her away from the danger areas. She didn't let anyone and anything get past her, and also delivered a couple of really nice long passes. She doesn't get enough credit for how good she's been since she's joined the club at the start of 2024, and this game, she showed just how good she is. This was the first game in a series of 4 between the two sides, and by the time this video comes out, the first leg of the Champions League would have probably been played. I would have loved to make a video analysing the Champions League tie, but UEFA doesn't like people using their footage to grow the women's game and provide analysis on YouTube, so I guess that's been taken out of my hands. Anyhow, well done to Sonia Bonpastor and her Chelsea team. Commiserations for City, but they will have 3 games to get revenge. All eyes are on these two teams over the next 2 weeks as we will wait to see if Manchester City will be the first team to beat Chelsea this season. Spoiler alert, yeah, they did it. 2 games in, 1 win apiece. What a series we have on our hands.